Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, and I'm back to bring you another episode review from Season 7 of The Loud House. So let's get right into it. Today's episode is Force of Habits. In this episode, Leni, Lori, and Luna try to fix the annoying habits of their significant others, but then they get mad when their dates start pointing out their annoying habits. I'll start off with a few positives by saying this was a sisters-only episode, sort of a rarity as of Season 7, and the three main characters go on a triple date with their significant others, something I had personally been hoping would happen at some point. Leni and Gavin are still dating since first hooking up in the Season 6 episode Food Courting, so I give credit to the show for finally giving Leni a more consistent relationship following her previous what might have been pairings with Chaz and that nameless cowlick guy. And yes, I still consider Leni X Scott from the Netflix movie as non-canon, so that one doesn't count in my book. There's also the final scene where everyone is singing in the cheese river and there are these two girls just looking on all confused. A perfectly appropriate reaction as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, besides Lori, Leni, and Luna sharing the spotlight and going on a triple date, that's as far as my positives go for this episode. Everything else comes off as either confusing, irritating, or just okay at best in terms of the overall lesson by the end. The story was a weird mix of the episodes Undie Pressure and House of Lies. It combined both the conflict of getting annoyed with a loved one's habits and wanting them to stop doing them, and the conflict of loved ones being totally honest instead of telling a little white lie to spare their feelings, thus causing everyone involved to get angry over the smallest of things. The biggest issue this episode has is that the conflict doesn't really work with all the main characters and their respective lovers. If the story was only centered around Leni and Gavin, it would have made more sense because they only just started dating. Having them pick up on and trying to deal with each other's habits, Gavin snorting when laughing and Leni taking a lot of pictures out in public, would be a good test of strength in their newly formed relationship. For Lori and Luna, however, the story doesn't work quite the same because they've been dating their respective lovers longer than Leni has been dating Gavin. It seemed too convenient that both Lori and Luna only just started recognizing any annoying habits when going out on a date. I'm really supposed to believe that by this point in the series, Luna never once noticed how indecisive Sam can be and how Bobby randomly breaks out into song. In fact, I can't even remember a single Loud House or Casa Grande's episode where either Sam or Bobby perform their annoying habit, so these revelations just come off as confusing and head-scratching. Normally, I would say these habits might have been done off-screen, but given how many episodes Sam has had with Luna and Bobby has had both with and without Lori, these annoying character traits just don't seem all that believable this far into the series. So yeah, Sam and Bobby are definitely not perfect like Lori and Luna said in the beginning. But either way, thanks to following the advice from 16½ magazine, the three sisters point out the habits of their respective dates and they all mutually agree to work on fixing them. However, the sisters inadvertently end up getting a taste of their own medicine at Dairyland when their dates start pointing out their annoying habits. Sam wanted Luna to tone down on her constant air-style jam sessions, which is odd because I thought her annoying habit was always talking in a British accent. And Bobby wanted Lori to tone down on always saying the word literally, especially in cases where it doesn't make sense. That last one is sort of amusing because it's the first time someone openly acknowledges the recurring habit Lori has had ever since the first season. It's about time someone mentioned it. But anyway, the sisters get super defensive when their habits are brought up and they start taking digs at their dates for effectively doing what they were doing to them earlier. They legit accuse their dates of only pointing out their habits as a way of getting back at them. You feel bad for Gavin, Sam, and Bobby because they were just trying to help the same way Leni, Luna, and Lori were trying to help them, and yet the Lau sisters took things way more personally than they did. What nerve, they said. How hurtful, they said. And I'm thinking, wow, talk about a complete lack of self-awareness. These girls had no problem pointing out someone else's flaws and wanting to fix them, but they lost their minds when someone was doing it to them? It's no wonder their dates called them out on their double standard. It kinda showed who had more emotional security. Seriously, Gavin, Sam, and Bobby, at least on the surface, handled their respective truth bombs with maturity and were open to making changes for their girlfriends. Meanwhile, their girlfriends decide to stick it to their dates by acting childish with their habits as their way of saying they're perfect the way they are and don't need to change. Again, I say, wow, talk about a complete lack of dignity. As expected, everyone splits up and goes their separate ways in the heat of the argument, and then the sisters come to realize how hypocritical and hurtful they were. They come to terms with who it is they're dating, and they say they have to accept their significant others for who they are instead of trying to change them. I personally would have used the word tolerate instead of accept, but I understood the lesson they were going for. Still, it doesn't help the fact they already learned this lesson in Undie Pressure and had to relearn it again here, not to mention they also learned once again to keep their mouths shut about the most trivial things things like they did in House of Lies. But regardless, everyone reconciles on the Tunnel of Cheese ride following the Louds' collective apology, so I suppose a happy ending is a happy ending no matter how you get to it. Some other critiques I have would be a complete absence of Luann and Benny. I was really surprised they didn't have any involvement given what the story was about. Maybe the writers didn't want to overload the episode with another couple? Then again, they already overloaded the story with 3 couples instead of focusing on just one, i.e. Leni and Gavin, but whatever. Were Luann and Benny absent because they already learned to accept each other's strange habits? It's hard to say. And finally, the usher wouldn't allow Luna and Sam to enter the theater just because the movie was already starting. I'm not sure how their universe works, but I've never gone to a theater that prevents you from going inside once a movie starts playing. I would love to hear their logic on enforcing a stupid rule like this. Overall, this episode is just a combined revision of Undie Pressure and House of Lies, and it's honestly very underwhelming when it's all meshed together. While I appreciate the attempt to give everyone some development by exploring new sides of their characters, how the story goes about handling said development is not all that good. Not only are the annoying loud sister habits from Undie Pressure different from the ones presented here, but the main conflict doesn't work too well for Lori and Luna given the longevity of their respective relationships. It really only works for Leni since her relationship with Gavin is new and they're still getting to know each other. Additionally, Sam and Bobby's annoying habits have never once been seen or mentioned prior to this episode, so these revelations just came off as a means of creating conflict merely for the sake of creating conflict. Just to be clear, I'm not saying I hate this episode. I do respect the lesson Lori, Leni, and Luna learned by the end, even though they already learned it a few seasons earlier. When it comes to your significant other, you have to learn to put up with whatever annoying habit they might have. Even if said habit is brought up, you should never take it like it's a personal attack. It's better to talk through these issues without being petty or judgmental and being open to change if possible. All of what I just said needs to be applied fairly to both people, not just one. Even if you can't kick that annoying habit, but your significant other can look past it because of the love you two share, then everything can still work out in what should be a healthy relationship. So much like the vibes I got from the season 6 episode I Can't, the best way to summarize my collective feelings about this episode would be the following. It's good enough for teaching an important lesson about relationships, learning to not lose sight of your significant other's positives by focusing solely on their minor negatives, and it was still passable when it came to giving each character some development. But too many past episodes reduce the impact of achieving that lesson and development. You may disagree with my assessment, but that's you, and this is me. With that said, I give Force of Habits a 6 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Force of Habits. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.